Hello everybody and welcome back to the Inner Sanctum YouTube channel. I'm your host Ari Stamatakos, and today, as with the World Cup is fast approaching, I think it's been the best time to look at 5 players who will break out at the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's kick things off with potentially the most hyped and most exciting player heading into this World Cup, and that is Spain's Gavi. Now, the 18-year-old, which is absolutely insane to think about, central midfielder will be integral to Spain's system at the World Cup. Now, he started 9 times in the league for Barcelona, playing on the right-hand side of a midfield 3, and despite his very, very young age and despite his lack of big tournament experience, he'll definitely be in and around the starting 11 for Spain. If not, he'll definitely make some cameos off the bench, that is for sure. He played and started for both Spain's final World Cup qualification games against Sweden and against Greece, as well as starting 4 times in the Nations League this time around. Now, he's really an auxiliary style midfielder. He's not really an advanced playmaker. He's not a deep lying playmaker. He's not like an anchor man. He's not a ball winning midfielder. He kind of sits into the half spaces, sits as a real central midfielder. If in a very typical and traditional term, he's a central midfielder. He doesn't really get on the goal or assist sheet that much, but he's really an auxiliary midfielder. That really isn't his game. His role is to facilitate from deep with his positioning, with his physicality, and with his football IQ, as well as make runs and space into the attacking third. Defensively, he's still very solid as well, doing most of his defensive actions very high up on the pitch. He's a really aggressive presser. Out of possession, really likes to make a lot of his defensive actions in the final third to get the quick turnover and then move from there. Some of his key stats this season have been 4.34 progressive passes received per 90. That ranks very high across Europe's top 5 leagues. And that's just something that we've just spoken about there, with his ability to create space, with his ability to get into the right areas in the final third or in and around the penalty box, and to really just create overloads. I think that's his main role. He isn't a defined player just yet. Like he's only just turned 18, only a matter of months ago. He's only really been in this Barcelona team for a matter of months, maybe even a year tops. He didn't feature for Spain at the Euros that prominently even before the Euros. So he's still trying to find his feet and still coming to terms and with what type of footballer he actually is and what type of central midfielder he actually is. But with the fact of those progressive passes received, we can already see just how much of an intelligent footballer he is. Some other stats is that he's had 0.47 goal creating actions per 90. Now, these aren't necessarily like shots or passes. These can come from dribbles, from drawing fouls, from other defensive actions as well. So like I said, he doesn't really have a main thing to his game. However, his kind of fluid and versatile nature allows him to influence in a lot of areas of the pitch. 1.84 dribbles completed and 3.34 passes into the final third, both per 90, show that he is capable of getting into the final third and making those aggressive passes into the final third, as well as 1.04 interceptions and 2.27 tackles plus interceptions per 90. Once again, those defensive attributes are very solid. He does like to make his defensive actions high up the pitch. He's an aggressive presser of the ball, and when he does play on that right hand side of that midfield 3, he is given the license to be a little bit more free in his position and to really show just how good and just how intelligent he is. That's probably one of the main assets that Gavi kind of exhibits, is that his intelligence is second to none despite being only 18 years of age. He's a player that is waiting to explode on the World Cups on the World Cup scene. He's absolutely phenomenal. He's an absolutely phenomenal player, and despite being 18 years of age, which I just can't stop thinking about and can't get over how young he is, but just how good he is, he will be one of Spain's best players come the future World Cups, come the future tournaments. And this is where we'll look back on maybe in 10, 20 years time. We're going to be looking on the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, where Gavi really exploded on the world stage. I doubt he'll be leaving Barcelona anytime soon, but this will put him in the shop window, no doubt, with the likes of PSG, even Real Madrid, Manchester City, Liverpool are in the shop window for a central midfielder of Gavi's elk. So once again, I don't think he will leave Barcelona anytime soon, but having a good tournament in Qatar, really showing just how good he is on the world stage, puts him in the shop window. But he's a fantastic talent, one of the world's most exciting players, and despite being a potential obvious choice, he's waiting to explode on the world stage, and he will definitely break out at the World Cup in Qatar and be one of Spain's best players, no doubt. Let's move on to the second player on this list, and that is PSV Eindhoven's Cody Gakpo. Now, for those who are in the know about the Dutch league and in the know about PSV Eindhoven, I should say, know just how good Cody Gakpo is. Now, the 23-year-old left winger / attacking midfielder has so much energy, and he's just waiting to just show the world just how good he is. From 12 starts this season, he has an absurd 9 goals and 11 assists in the league, as well as 5 goal contributions in five games in Europe. He plays on the left-hand side for PSV. However, for Netherlands, he has occupied a number 10 role in their 3-4-1-2 system. However, because of just how good he is, because of the talent that he possesses, it really is a free role. He's given the license to move across that left-hand side and really show just how much talent, just how much razzle-dazzle he has in a sense. I know that term, the touch and tease that we've seen from players in the past has slowly fades away and isn't able to really be expressed on the world stages because of how intense and how physical it is. But if Gakpo's given time and space on the ball, we can just see just how good his close control, his agility, his ball control is. It is phenomenal. It really is. Now, 2 key passes per game and registering 1 big chance per 90 shows that he's much more than just a direct goal scorer. While he does like to play a direct style of football and does like to get into the box, into the final third, he can create just as much as he scores. And we've seen that with the amount of assists that he has so far in the league this season. This just adds another layer of unpredictability and a way to confuse defences even more. Now, he will be the Netherlands' main attacking force this tournament, and with how influential Jorginho Wijnaldum was playing as that number 10 role in the Euros, Gakpo is poised to have an unreal tournament. Now, some stats that have come from his time so far this season is that he has an absurd 6.84 shot creating actions per 90, which compared with other players in his position and other players in Europe is absolutely absurd. He is a shot and goal creating machine. He just, every time he touches the ball, something good happens, and we see this with 7.60 progressive passes received, meaning that he does like to get in good areas. He's positionally very aware of where he needs to be, playing in that number 10 role as well as on the left hand side. Now, the freedom that he's given in this Netherlands system to facilitate the likes of Memphis Depay and other players that will be playing up front, he's poised to have an unbelievable tournament. He's poised to break out on the world stage, and we all know the January transfer window is coming up post this World Cup. It will not shock me to see Gakpo in the shop market with the big clubs in Europe looking to snap him up after the World Cup, because if Netherlands are going to go far, which we all expect them to do, he will be a very, very prominent player in that squad and will break out at this World Cup, no doubt. So let's move on to the third player on this list, and that is the USA's Ricardo Pepi. Now, the 19-year-old striker is hitting a fine purple patch of form heading into the tournament with 5 goals in 6 starts for FC Groningen, and will probably start up front for the USA at the World Cup. Now, a quick and nimble number 9, he likes to play facing to goal, using his work rate and movement to get into good positions in behind the defence. Now, his game works really well, especially on the counter-attack, with those high defensive lines that the likes of England will probably set up against the US. Him getting in behind that defense using his pace, movement and work rate to get into one-on-one positions, to get into those channels, will be a key avenue for success for him and the USA this tournament. Having quick feet and a good eye for goal, he's the definition of a traditional central advanced forward. Now, his off-the-ball work, out-of-possession work is exceptional. He ranks in the top 13 percentile in Europe for tackles, interceptions, blocks and clearances compared to his other striker counterparts. Now, this pressure, this first line of defense style that Pepi offers will suit the USA system. To a T. Now, should he start up front, he will probably be partnered alongside Christian Pulisic and Timothy Weah, which makes for a very dangerous and very fluid front line. He's currently under contract at Bundesliga side Augsburg. He will be high in demand, and there's a very, very good chance at a decent amount of profit for that side coming out of this World Cup, as we all know, as I just mentioned, with Cody Gakpo heading into January after the World Cup. These players, if they do break out, will be behind the man. Now, with Pepi, what you have is a real quick, nimble, traditional, central, advanced forward. He suits the USA system to a T. His off the ball work is exceptional, and he'll run all day out of possession, putting those defenses under pressure, putting that defensive midfielder for England England or for Wales or for Iran under pressure straight away. And because of this ability that he has, this good ball control, this good finishing ability that he has, he can rotate out wide if necessary in game, switching with the likes of Weah or with the likes of Pulisic. This tactical versatility, this tactical fluidity that he offers will put him in good stead come the tournament. And if he can in the coming weeks heading into the World Cup, if he can start to score a few more goals, maintain that purple patch, everything seems to be coming up perfectly for the US and for Pepi heading into the World Cup. But he's someone which not a lot of people have their eye on. He's still a teenager, which is insane considering just how good he already is. And despite the USA looking towards 2026, their home World Cup, where they can really shock the world, I think Pepi can really make his name on the world stage in Qatar. So he's one to keep your eye out on. Let's move on to the penultimate player of this list, and that is Denmark's Andreas Skov Olsen. Now, we all know just how good the likes of Damsgaard, Poulsen, Dolberg were in the Euros last year. However, Andreas Skov Olsen can really take the mantle of those players and make a real name for himself in this Danish side. The 22-year-old right winger currently applying his trade for Belgium First Division side Club Brugge. He moved to Belgium in January after spending 2.5 years in Italy playing for Bologna. From 4 games in the Champions League this season, he has scored 1 goal and got 1 assist, as well as 8 goal contributions in 11 starts in the league. What you have with Skov Olsen is a slightly more creative winger. He does like to play on that right-hand side as well, but he can float in to play a little bit more centrally and influence in that way, as well as out wide, where he can really have a better view of the pitch and really get those crosses in or play those passes through. He likes to influence more in the second or third phases of build-up play, where he can then get the cross or that final pass or that assist through. He started 5 of Denmark's last 6 games playing in the Nations League, where he either played as a right winger or a right attacking midfielder when they played the 4-2-3-1 system, or as a right-sided narrow forward when they played the 3-4-2-1 system. Now, he has versatility, like obviously as he shows in his position and where he likes to play. Obviously, his tactical fluidity suits his more creative game style, because he can either come inside and influence through intricate plays, intricate passes, as well as his fantastic ball control, where he can play through the likes of Kasper Dolberg or Mikael Damsgaard, who are your more finishing type players, who are your more enders of moves, as well as playing as that right winger / right attacking midfielder, where he's given a little bit more time and space on the ball. He can dictate the tempo and really show just how good he is. In those 5 games, he registered 2 goals, acting as a real offensive threat on that right hand side. Now, he dictated from deep as well in those 5 games, I should say, where he scored those 2 goals. My apologies. And he likes to hold his position when playing out wide to maintain the width. Now, this, despite being the slightly more creative midfielder or slightly more creative and unorthodox winger in a sense, of slightly more second or third or slightly more wide midfielder rather than like a wide forward, Skov Olsen does have the ability to score goals and get on the score sheet. He does have a good eye for goal, especially from range as well. He's fantastic. So he has created 5 big chances in the league this season and 2.1 key passes per 90. This just goes to show just how much of a creative force he is for his club side, and how much he can influence in the second and third phases of build-up play, like I mentioned. What he can offer for Denmark is a slightly more offbeat dynamic to their attack. They have a lot of dynamic players and a lot of direct players with the likes of Damsgaard, Jonas Wind, the use of Poulsen, Kasper Dolberg. These players are very direct, like to hit the score sheet, and coupled with the likes of Eriksen and Skov Olsen, who facilitate that and act as these creative forces, he can be a very, very dangerous player for Denmark. And despite only moving to Club Brugge in January, it's been a full year after the World Cup finishes. If Denmark can go far and replicate what they did in the Euros last year, then Skov Olsen will be in the shop window, no doubt, and will break out on the world stage and show just how good he is in the World Cup in Qatar. Now let's finish up with the final player of this list, and that is potentially, barring Gavi, the most anticipated player heading into the Euros, and that is Germany's Jamal Musiala. Now he's currently making waves for Bayern Munich, and it is time for him to make his name on the world stage. The 19-year-old is a traditional number 10 for Bayern Munich and has had 11 goal contributions in 9 starts playing in the Bundesliga. Occupying traditional number 10 positions, however, he does like to drift out wide and influence on the right-hand side and make an impact that way. His strengths involve his playmaking ability, and that is something Germany will be looking to unlock. As well as he does like to play similar position for Germany as he does club level, so that obviously that transition will be very seamless and will be comfortable for him. However, what Jamal Musiala offers is, and what Jamal Musiala symbolises, is a new wave of German players heading into this World Cup. For the longest time, Germany have been about systematic ruthlessness, whereas Musiala, obviously we all know his connections to England and what happened there, but he's chosen to play for Germany, and he really is making a wave as this new crop of German talent comes through. This new creative, this new flair-driven way of playing football for Germany is something that we'll see in these Euros, no doubt. And some of his stats this season are borderline absurd, right? He has 4.62 shot creating actions per 90, 8.07 progressive passes received, as well as 0.40 non-penalty goals per 90. So what this shows is he has the ability to pick up the ball in very, very good areas, playing as that number 10, drifting in between the lines. He's very, very difficult to man mark out of the game because of just how much work ethic he has and how much work rate he has. He can outrun pretty much any defensive midfielder. That's because of how much he wants to just get into those right positions, get into the positions where he can influence in the final third. And these shot creating actions come from so many different areas. It comes from him being able to dribble the ball fantastically, he has fantastic close control, fantastic agility. As well as like we've said, his playmaking ability is second to none. He really is he's almost an Ozil kind of regen in a sense, almost like a Thomas Muller, but a little bit more physically better in terms of his agility is better. He's a little bit quicker off the mark, but that doesn't kind of excuse how good he is defensive or offensively, technically, I should say. A player with as much agility and as much physical presence that he has shouldn't be able to do the things that he does with the ball, but he does. He has a perfect mixture of both. And both sides of his game complement each other brilliantly. He's obviously fantastically capable of hitting the score sheet, as we've said, with 0.40 non-penalty goals per 90, as well as those 4.62 shot creating actions, like I said, can come from so many areas. So he's so unpredictable, so hard to play against, and will be Germany's main man, especially from attacking aspect heading into the World Cup. And like I said, he symbolises this new wave of German players coming into football, expressing themselves on the world stage. Jamal Musiala, we all know how good he is. He's shown it in the Champions League, he's shown it in the Bundesliga, and it's now time, I think, for him to show it at the World Cup in Qatar for Germany. Germany obviously underperformed in 2018. They did pretty well at the Euros. They fell at the round 16 stage to England, which was pretty disappointing. If he wants to take this German side back to where they were 8 years ago in 2014, then he needs to perform at his absolute best, and his absolute best is phenomenal. His best, despite only being a teenager, is one of the best in the world. So Jamal Musiala, despite being a little bit of an obvious choice to finish things up, is the fifth player who will break out at this World Cup. He's so good. He's so talented. And if Germany are going to have a pretty good World Cup, Jamal Musiala will be a key player in that system 100%. So yes, thank you all very much for watching another video here on the Inner Sanctum YouTube channel. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave your thoughts about another player who may have missed out on that will break out on the world stage at the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the Inner Sanctum YouTube channel. See you guys next time, and goodbye.